The night sky above the human colony of Ardent Field was calm and silent. The stars glittered across the darkness like scattered pieces of silver. Rian stood outside his small workshop, wiping his hands on an old cloth. He had been repairing a broken shuttle engine since morning, and now that the work was done, he was ready to rest. But something strange caught his attention. A bright streak of light cut across the horizon. At first, he thought it was a meteor, but then the light changed direction. It's moving too fast and too controlled to be a falling rock. It was a ship, burning through the atmosphere. The sound reached him next, a deep roar that made the ground shake. A fireball crossed over the valley and crashed somewhere near the edge of the forest. Rian froze for a moment. He knew no human flights were scheduled tonight. Whatever that was, it did not belong to the colony. He looked toward the settlement behind him. Most people were asleep, unaware of what just fell from the sky. Curiosity burned inside him. Without thinking twice, he grabbed his pack of tools, put on his jacket, and started running toward the crash site. The forest was dark and full of smoke. Trees were broken, the air smelled like burning metal, and pieces of debris glowed in the grass. Rian moved carefully, keeping his light low. His heart pounded in his chest. He had seen wrecks before, but this one felt different. The metal was not human-made. It shimmered with a strange silver-blue color, almost alive. Then he saw it. A small fighter craft, half buried in the dirt. Its hull was covered in deep scratches, glowing marks, and what looked like pulse burns. The wings were bent inward, and sparks danced around a cracked power core. Rian stepped closer and froze again. When he noticed a figure lying beside the wreck, it was not human. The being was tall and slim, wearing armor that looked part organic. The armor pulsed faintly with blue light, and a helmet covered the face. One arm was bent awkwardly, and a faint sound came from the creature. Something between a breath and a whisper. Rian hesitated. He had heard stories about aliens, but never seen one in person. Humanity had only met a few species beyond the trade networks, and none had come this far into human territory. He could run back to the colony and call security, but something in his chest stopped him. The alien was hurt. Whatever she was, she needed help. He knelt beside her and placed a hand near her shoulder. The armor was warm to the touch. "Can you hear me?" he asked softly. There was no answer, only a faint movement. The helmet's visor flickered, revealing a glimpse of silver eyes behind the glass. They were focused on him, weak but aware. Rian swallowed and spoke again. "I'm not here to hurt you. I want to help." The eyes blinked once, slowly. That was enough for him. He slid his hands under her and tried to lift her carefully. The armor was heavy, far more than he expected, but he managed to pull her up with effort. She let out a small sound, something that made him pause for a second. But then her breathing steadied again. Rian carried her out of the forest, one slow step at a time. The sky was still glowing faintly from the crash. When he reached the edge of the field near his workshop, sweat covered his face. He laid her down on a soft tarp and checked her armor again. The damage was severe. There were deep cracks near the chest and shoulder plates. Sparks came from a joint near the arm. He had never seen technology like this. It looked alive, like veins of light running through living metal. He worked quickly. He used a small scanner from his toolkit to check energy patterns. The readings made no sense, but he noticed a pulse rhythm like a heartbeat. It reminded him of something both mechanical and biological. He found a release latch on the armor and pressed it. With a soft hiss, part of the helmet retracted, revealing the alien's face. His breath caught in surprise. She looked almost human, though her skin had a faint silver hue, and her hair shimmered like liquid glass. Her features were soft but strong, and her breathing was shallow. She was clearly a warrior, but right now she looked fragile. Rian checked for injuries. There was no blood, only faint bruises and heat marks from the armor. He realized she might not survive if he didn't stabilize the suit's power flow. He connected his portable power cells to her armor and began adjusting energy levels carefully. The lights on her chest plate flickered weakly, then steadied a little. Minutes passed like hours. Rian kept his focus, even as exhaustion pressed against his eyelids. He could hear distant hums from patrol drones scanning the sky. If they found the crash, they would come with soldiers and take her away for study. That thought pushed him to move faster. When he touched one of the broken armor joints, she suddenly stirred. Her hand twitched, then moved up, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. Her eyes opened fully, bright and sharp, but filled with confusion. Rian froze. "It's all right. You're safe. I'm trying to fix your armor." For a moment, she didn't speak. Then, in a soft and strained voice, she said, "Please, be gentle, human." The sound of her voice shocked him. It was calm, almost melodic, but full of pain. He nodded quickly. "I will. I promise." Her grip loosened, and she closed her eyes again. Rian took a deep breath and continued his work, this time slower, careful not to cause her more pain. Hours passed as he patched broken circuits and rebalanced the armor's energy. He didn't understand the alien symbols on the panels, but instinct and experience guided his hands. He was good at fixing things, no matter where they came from. The night grew colder, and the stars shifted. Rian finally leaned back, rubbing his sore hands. The armor was stable for now. The lights pulsed evenly. The alien was resting peacefully, her breathing calm. He sat beside her, studying her face. Who was she? Why was she here? Her armor suggested she was a soldier, maybe from a war unknown to humans. But why was she alone? He looked at the broken ship in the distance. The power core was still faintly glowing. He would need to hide it before the patrols came. If they found any trace, they would search every house. He could not let that happen. Rian stood up and covered the ship remains with heavy tarps and broken panels. He disguised the wreck under scrap metal and old machinery. Then he returned to the workshop and checked on her again. She was still unconscious, but her eyes moved behind her closed lids, as if dreaming. Rian brought a blanket and placed it gently over her. Though her body was covered in armor, the gesture felt right. He sat in a chair nearby and stared at her quietly. The silence of the workshop was broken only by the faint of the armor's systems. He felt something stir inside him, not fear, but a strange sense of responsibility. This being had fallen from the sky, wounded and alone, and somehow fate had placed her in front of him. Outside, the first rays of dawn began to rise. The colony would soon wake up. Rian knew he could not tell anyone about her yet. People were already afraid of things they did not understand. If they found her, they would call the military. She would be taken away, or worse. He looked at his tools, then at the armor again. He needed to learn how it worked, how to keep her alive, and maybe even help her leave safely. As the morning light filled the workshop, Rian took a deep breath and made a decision. He would protect her, whatever she was. Wherever she came from, he would not let fear or ignorance destroy her chance to survive. He had fixed broken ships, damaged engines, and failing machines before, but this time, he felt he was fixing something much greater, a bridge between worlds. He checked the scanners one last time, ensuring no energy leaks were visible from the outside. Then he dimmed the lights and sat quietly. The alien's breathing was slow and steady now. Rian's eyes grew heavy. Before sleep took him, he looked at her again and whispered softly, "You'll be all right. I'll make sure of it." As he drifted into light sleep, the faint hum of alien energy filled the room, mixing with the morning wind. The crash site lay hidden in the distance, and a new day began, one that would change not only Rian's life but perhaps the fate of both their worlds. The morning sun climbed over the metal roofs of the colony. Its light reached the edges of Rian's workshop, painting the walls with gold. Inside, the air was still, except for the faint hum of a foreign rhythm coming from the alien armor resting on the work table. Rian woke up slowly, his neck stiff from sleeping in the chair. He rubbed his eyes and turned to check on the alien. Her breathing was steady. The armor shimmered faintly, reacting to the warmth of the sun that slipped through the window. He leaned forward to check the readings on his handheld scanner. The power flow was stable, though the system still showed several broken nodes. He whispered quietly, still holding together. "Good." He stood up and stretched. His mind was filled with questions. Who was she? Where did she come from? Was there anyone looking for her right now? And if they were, would they find her here? Rian turned as he heard a faint movement. The alien stirred slightly, her fingers twitching. The armor plate shifted with a soft sound. He stepped closer, unsure if she was waking or dreaming. Her eyes opened slowly. They were the same silver shade he remembered from the night before, calm yet sharp. She looked around the workshop, her gaze landing on Rian. He froze for a second, unsure of what to say. "You are safe," he said softly. "You crashed near the forest. I brought you here." Her lips parted as she spoke, her voice gentle but strained. "You are human," yes, Rian said with a small nod. "And you are." He hesitated. "I do not know your kind." She studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she sat up slightly, wincing in pain. The armor around her ribs flickered with light. "Please stay still," Rian said quickly. "Your armor is damaged. I tried to fix what I could, but I do not understand your technology fully." She looked down at her suit, touching one of the repaired joints. The human cables and connectors were visible, neatly attached to the alien structure. Her fingers moved over the metal slowly. "You repaired it with your own tools," she said quietly. Rian nodded. "I used what I had. It should hold for now. You need rest." She leaned back slightly, closing her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, she said, "My name is Talia. I am a guardian of the Selling Coalition." Rian repeated the name carefully. "Talia, I am Rian. I fix ships here. Mostly old freighters and harvest drones." Talia looked around his workshop, noticing the human tools and machines scattered everywhere. "You have skill. This place is full of creation." He smiled faintly. "It keeps the colony running." For a few minutes, silence filled the room, except for the soft hum of machines. Then Talia spoke again. "You should not have helped me. My presence here will bring danger. My enemies may follow my signal." Rian frowned. "Enemies? Are they the ones who shot you down?" She nodded slowly. "Yes. They are not a race like yours or mine. They are something else. They consume everything they touch." Her voice became quieter. "I came to stop them, but they found me first." Rian felt a chill run down his spine. "Consume everything? You mean destroy?" "Worse," she said. "They feed on energy, on life. They spread like a sickness through the stars. My fleet was tracking them, but I broke away when I found traces near this system. I was alone when they struck." Rian walked toward his console and checked the outer scanners. "If they followed you here, we may already be in danger." Talia tried to stand but stumbled. Rian caught her arm quickly. The armor flared with light again as it adjusted to the movement. She looked up at him and whispered, "Be gentle. Human." He gave a small smile. "I remember. Do not worry. I am careful." He helped her sit again. The armor's internal energy pulse steadied after a few moments. Talia looked at the cables connected to the portable generator. "You used human power cells to keep my core alive. That is clever." "I only followed what made sense," Rian said. "Machines talk if you listen long enough." Her eyes softened. "Your kind learns quickly." "Many would have left me to die," Rian shrugged. "Maybe, but I do not like seeing someone hurt." Talia studied him silently, as if trying to understand the kind of mind that would risk everything for a stranger from another world. The day passed quietly as Rian worked on improving the energy connection. Talia guided him when she could, explaining which plates controlled the suit's core systems and which were connected to her own body functions. Her armor was a living symbiosis, part metal, part organic weave. Each repair needed precision and patience. Sometimes she watched him as he worked, fascinated by how his rough tools somehow managed to restore delicate alien systems. His hands were steady, his eyes focused. He was not trained in alien tech, but his instincts were sharp. When evening arrived, Rian brought her a bowl of warm broth. "You need something to regain strength," he said. She looked at it curiously, then tasted a small sip. "It is simple, but warm." "Thank you," Rian smiled. "It is all I can make." I am not much of a cook." She gave a faint laugh, a sound that felt light compared to the tension of the day. For a brief moment, the air between them felt less like two species divided by the stars, and more like two people simply trying to survive. As night fell, the sound of distant drones echoed in the sky. Rian moved to the window and peered out carefully. The patrols are out again. They must have picked up energy readings from the crash site. Talia's tone grew serious. "You should not risk yourself for me. If they find me here, they will arrest you." Rian shook his head. "They would not understand. They would take you apart just to see how your armor works. I will not let that happen." She stared at him with surprise. "Why would you protect someone you just met?" He thought for a moment before answering. "Because it is the right thing to do." Her gaze softened. "Humans are strange, but I am beginning to understand why your kind survives against stronger races." He smiled slightly. "We are stubborn. That helps too." They spent the next few hours working together. Talia explained the symbols engraved on her armor, teaching him how each section responded to movement or pressure. Her words were slow, sometimes broken, but Rian learned fast. He managed to stabilize several circuits that were failing before. When they finished, the armor looked far more stable than before. The lights pulsed evenly, and Talia could move her arms without pain. "You have done well," she said. "You have the hands of a healer." "I am only a mechanic," Rian replied modestly. "Sometimes fixing a machine saves a life." "That is no small thing," she said quietly. Rian looked at her, then at the window again. "Do you think your people will come for you?" She hesitated before answering. "Maybe, but I fear my signal is weak. My ship's beacon was destroyed in the crash. Until it is rebuilt, no one will find me." He frowned. "Then we need to fix it. I can try." Talia looked surprised. "You would help with that too?" He nodded firmly. "If it means getting you home, yes." For a moment, she said nothing. Then she smiled faintly. "You have courage, Rian, of Earth." "Just Rian is fine," he said with a small laugh. She smiled again. And for the first time, there was warmth in her expression. Later that night, after checking the outer scanners again, Rian sat near the workshop's small heater. Talia rested nearby, her armor glowing faintly in the dark. The silence between them was calm. He spoke quietly. "You said your enemies consume everything. Will they come here?" Talia's voice was soft but serious. "If they find this world, they will not stop. They spread across galaxies, feeding until nothing remains. They are called the Vorn. I came to stop them before they reached your kind." Rian stared at the floor, his mind racing. "Then saving you might have saved us too." "Perhaps," she said. "But danger is not over. If they learn I am here, they will come." Rian looked up. "Then we will be ready. I will help however I can." She turned to him, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "You would fight for a world you barely understand?" "I would fight for my home," he said, "and for someone who risked her life trying to protect it." Her expression softened again, and for the first time, she bowed her head slightly in respect. "Then you are braver than most I have known." The night grew colder. Rian gave her another blanket, though she did not seem to need it. The alien armor gave off a gentle warmth of its own. Before he turned off the lights, she spoke once more. "Rian? Yes. When I asked you to be gentle, you listened. Few would have done that. My kind often sees humans as reckless, but I see truth in your heart. You fix what others abandon. That is strength." Rian felt a quiet pride rise inside him. Maybe that is what makes us human. She nodded slowly. Then maybe humans and guardians are not so different after all. The two sat in silence for a while, each lost in thought. Outside, the stars shone brightly over the quiet colony. Rian knew things were changing. The crash, the alien, the hidden threat she spoke of, everything was leading to something greater. But he also knew he had made a choice. He would stand by her side no matter what came next, as he finally lay back in his chair to rest. The hum of her armor blended with the sound of the night wind. Somewhere beyond the stars, a shadow moved closer, and neither of them yet knew how soon their fragile peace would be tested. Morning came quietly to Ardent Field. The soft light of dawn touched the rooftops, and the colony woke slowly to another day. But inside Rian's workshop, the air was heavy with tension. The hum of alien energy mixed with the soft crackle of his power generator. Rian stood beside the table, examining Talia's armor. She was awake and watching him. Her silver eyes reflected the dim glow of the machines. "You have not rested," she said. "I will rest when your systems stop flashing warnings," Rian replied. "This signal here, it keeps pulsing. What does it mean?" Talia looked at the small holographic display glowing above her wrist. "It is a distress echo from my ship. The beacon is damaged, but part of it still sends a weak call. If my enemies are tracking it, they may already be on their way." Rian's hands froze. "Then we should destroy the beacon." Talia shook her head. "If we destroy it, my people will not find me. The signal is also my only hope of rescue, but it must be hidden from enemy scanners." Rian thought for a moment. "I can reroute it through the mining satellites. That will distort the origin point. They will think you are somewhere far from here." She studied him for a long moment. "You understand systems far beyond your colony's limits." "You surprise me, Rian." He smiled slightly. "Machines are the same everywhere. They all follow rules. Once you learn their rhythm, they listen." He began working quickly, connecting a set of data lines to the beacon fragment. Sparks flickered as he reprogrammed the frequency. Talia watched in silence. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to relax. But peace did not last long. The ground outside trembled slightly, and a low sound rumbled in the distance. Rian looked up sharply. That was not thunder. Talia's eyes narrowed. "No, that is a landing sound." They rushed to the window. Across the horizon, faint trails of fire marked the sky. Something was entering the atmosphere. The shapes were distant, but growing closer. Rian's voice was tense. "How many?" "3 dropships," Talia said. "Too small to be a full fleet. They are scouts. The Vorn are looking for me." He stepped back from the window. "Then we need to hide you." Talia stood, her armor humming with faint light. "No, I cannot hide forever. But I need more time to restore my core weapon system. Without it, I cannot fight them." Rian hesitated. "Then we finish it now. Tell me what to do." For the next few hours, they worked in silence. Talia guided him through the complex patterns of her armor, teaching him how the power conduits connected to her neural interface. Rian used every bit of skill he had, combining human tools with alien metal. At one point, Talia stopped and looked at him. "You are risking your life, human. If they find you helping me, they will see you as a traitor to your own kind." Rian tightened a screw without looking up. "Maybe, but if what you say is true, they will all be dead if we do nothing. So I would rather fight than run?" Talia's gaze softened. "You speak like a soldier." He shook his head. "Just a mechanic who hates losing." By midday, the repairs were nearly complete. The armor's lights now shone brighter, moving like streams of living energy across her body. The air hummed with quiet power. Tella flexed her hands and tested her movements. "The systems are stable again. I can feel the strength returning." Rian smiled. "Good. Then we stand a chance." Talia nodded. "There is still one thing left. My ship's memory core. It holds all mission data and coordinates of enemy activity. If the Vorn find it, they will know everything. We must retrieve it before they do." Rian blinked. "Where is it?" "In the wreck," she said. "I ejected it before the crash to prevent it from breaking. It should be buried near the crater." Rian grabbed his pack. "Then let's go now before those ships land." Talia moved to follow him, but her steps were still heavy. "The armor will need a few more minutes to balance energy flow." "Go ahead, I will follow." He hesitated but nodded. "Stay low and follow my trail." Rian ran through the tall grass toward the forest. The smell of smoke still lingered in the air from the crash days before. He reached the crater and began searching through the debris. Metal fragments gleamed under the sun, half buried in dirt after several minutes. He found a small silver cube, pulsing faintly with light. The surface shimmered like liquid glass. He smiled with relief and reached for it. Before his hand touched the cube, a sharp sound echoed behind him. He turned quickly and froze. 3 dark figures stepped out of the trees. Their shapes were twisted, their armor black and reflective like oil. Their movements were smooth but unnatural. Their eyes glowed faint red. Rian's heart raced. He had never seen creatures like them. They looked alive and mechanical at the same time. One of them tilted its head slightly, scanning him. Its voice was metallic. Human detected. Energy signal of Cellin origin registered. Surrender object. Rian stepped back slowly. I do not know what you are talking about. The creature raised an arm, and a thin beam of red light shot past Rian's shoulder, cutting a deep line into the ground. Non-compliance detected. Retrieved by force, before it could move again, a silver blur struck from above. Talia landed between Rian and the enemy, her armor glowing bright blue. With a sharp motion, she blocked the next beam and sent a burst of light energy that threw the first creature. Backward, Rian ducked as sparks flew around them. Talia's voice was calm but firm. Stay behind me. The other 2 creatures advanced. Their limbs shifted into blade-like shapes. Talia moved fast, striking one with a spinning kick that cracked its chest plate. The other slashed at her, cutting through the air. Rian scrambled to grab the memory core and held it tight. Talia fought fiercely, her armor glowing brighter with each strike. The enemies were strong, but she moved with speed and precision. Every motion was controlled, every attack calculated. Still, there were too many of them. One of the creatures struck her shoulder, and sparks burst from her armor. She staggered slightly but recovered quickly. Her eyes flashed with determination. Rian, she called. Run to the workshop. Now. He hesitated. What about you? I will follow, she said. Go. Rian turned and sprinted back toward the colony. Behind him, the sounds of battle filled the air. Blue and red flashes lit up the trees. The ground shook as energy blasts hit nearby rocks. He reached the edge of the workshop and turned around. Talia emerged from the forest a moment later, her armor smoking, but she was still standing. She had survived. Rian helped her inside quickly. You are hurt. It is only minor damage, she said. We must secure the memory core before they regroup. Place the cube on the table. They knew it was here. How? They can sense energy from great distance, she said. They feed on it. That is how they survive. Rian stared at the cube. Then we cannot keep this here. It will draw them again. Talia nodded. We will use it once to contact my fleet. After that, we must destroy it. Rian worked quickly to connect the cube to his system. Data streams flowed across the screen in strange symbols. I can translate some of this, he said. If your people are anywhere near, we might reach them. Talia moved beside him. You're doing well, Rian. Keep going. He typed fast, adjusting the signals to bypass colony security scanners. The system beeped as it found a faint connection far beyond the edge of the solar system. There, he said. A weak signal. Is that your fleet? Talia's eyes lit up. Yes, they are out there. The relief on her face was clear, but it faded quickly when another alarm blared. The scanner on the table showed red lights flashing. Rian looked at the screen. They are coming back. And more of them this time. Talia clenched her fists. They will not stop until I am dead or captured. But now we have a chance. The fleet can reach this planet in 2 days if they receive my coordinates. Rian turned toward the window where shadows moved in the distance. 2 days is a long time. Talia faced him with calm determination. Then we will hold until they arrive. Rian nodded, his fear replaced by resolve. We will make this place a fortress. Together they began preparing. Rian sealed the doors and powered up the defense shields he had built years ago for his workshop. They were old and weak, but he could enhance them using parts from Talia's wreck. For the next few hours, they worked side by side. Talia rerouted her armor's spare energy cells into the shield grid. Rian adjusted the power regulators and reinforced the walls with metal plating. Sweat covered his face, but he did not stop. When they finished, The workshop glowed faintly with a blue protective field. Rian leaned against the wall, breathing hard. It will not hold forever. Talia placed a hand on his shoulder. It only needs to hold long enough. You have done more than I could ask for. He looked at her, and there was no fear in his eyes. We are not done yet. Not until your people arrive. Talia gave a small smile. Then we fight together. Outside, the sky darkened as the enemy ships descended closer to the ground. The faint red light of their engines painted the clouds like a warning. Inside the workshop, two unlikely allies stood ready, one human, one alien, bound by trust and courage. The coming hours would decide not just their fate, but perhaps the future of the world itself. The night sky was dark, silent, and strange. Clouds rolled across the stars as if the heavens themselves were uneasy. Rian stood on the roof of his workshop, looking at the horizon. The warning beacons were flashing red far beyond the colony walls. He could hear the faint hum of the defense towers charging. Something was coming. He did not know what it was, but he could feel the pressure in the air. Inside the workshop, Talia was working in full focus. Her armor stood on the repair platform, glowing with dim blue light. The armor was almost ready. They had spent days fixing every broken circuit and energy cell. Now only the final adjustments remained. Rian could see her hands shaking slightly. She was tired, but determined. We do not have much time, she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but her eyes told a different story. They are near. The parasites can sense my energy signature. They will come for me first. Rian nodded. Then we finish this before they arrive. You fight, and I will help from here. He grabbed a set of tools and began tightening the last armor plates. The armor's surface was strange, almost alive. It pulsed faintly, reacting to his touch. It felt like repairing a living creature rather than a machine. He was careful not to harm the internal fibers that carried energy. Talia watched his hands move, her expression soft for a brief moment. Your hands are steady, she said. You could have been one of our engineers. Rian smiled slightly. Maybe, but I like being human. A distant explosion shook the ground. The lights in the workshop flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. Talia turned toward the noise and frowned. They are here. Rian rushed to the main door and looked outside. He saw shadows moving at the edge of the colony. Large crawling shapes with red eyes that glowed in the dark. The parasites had come. They looked like twisted beasts made of metal and flesh. Their movements were jerky, unnatural, and fast. The defense towers fired beams of light, cutting through several creatures. But more appeared from behind the hills. The colony alarm began to howl. People screamed and ran through the streets. Rian closed the door and turned to Talia. We cannot stay here. They will find us. Talia stepped into her armor. It sealed around her with a smooth hiss. The plate shifted into place, locking perfectly. The fusion of alien and human parts made it look stronger and more flexible than before. The energy core in the chest glowed softly like a calm heartbeat. She looked at Rian. This armor is not just mine anymore. You are part of it now, Rian blinked. What do you mean? She placed a hand on the chest plate. Your tools, your designs, your human instinct, they are inside this system now. It carries your touch. Before he could answer, the wall shook violently. One of the creatures slammed into the side of the building. The metal groaned and cracked. Rian grabbed his blaster and a welding torch. Talia's helmet closed with a faint hum, and her eyes glowed faint blue through the visor. She turned toward the door. Stay behind me. The door burst open, and two parasite creatures crawled inside. Their bodies were covered with oily armor and strange tendrils that sparked with static energy. They roared with a sound like broken machines. Talia stepped forward without fear. She raised her arm, and a blade of energy extended from her wrist. In one swift move, she sliced through the first creature. Sparks and dark liquid scattered across the floor. The second one lunged at her, but she spun and struck again, cutting it down before it could touch her. Rian watched in awe. The armor moved like it was part of her body. Every motion was smooth, every strike perfect. He had never seen anything like it. Talia looked back at him. They know we are here. More will come. We must protect the colony, Rian nodded. I can help with the defense towers. I know their systems. They rushed outside. The streets were chaos. The air smelled of smoke and burning metal. Families were hiding in their homes while defense drones flew overhead, firing at the invading creatures. Rian ran toward the nearest control station, while Talia fought along the street, clearing the way. Each parasite she struck seemed to adapt for a moment, changing shape, trying to resist. But her armor was stronger now. The human-engineered energy circuits inside her suit overloaded the creature's defenses. Rian saw her leap across the rooftops, glowing faintly in the night. A mix of steel and light dot at the control station. Rian hacked into the system. The towers were not responding well. Many had been damaged. He rewired the energy circuits, rerouting power from the colony generators. Come on, he whispered. Work, you old things. The main cannon came back online with a loud hum. It aimed automatically toward the eastern field where the largest swarm approached. Rian activated it, and a beam of pure light cut through the night, tearing a path through the parasites. The ground shook as several of them exploded. Talia landed beside him. Her armor was scratched and smoking, but she was still standing tall. Good work, human, she said with a small smile. Rian grinned. You are not doing bad either. Then, the ground split open near them. A massive parasite rose from the crack, larger than any they had seen before. It had many arms and a mouth full of glowing orbs. Its body shimmered like molten glass. It roared, shaking the air. Talia stepped forward. That is their leader. If it falls, the others will scatter. She charged before Rian could stop her. The giant creature swung one massive arm, sending a wave of energy that knocked her into a wall. Her armor flickered, trying to absorb the shock. Rian shouted her name and ran closer. He saw the power core on her back had cracked slightly. Without it, the armor could fail. He had to help. He pulled a power cable from a broken tower and dragged it toward her. Talia. I can boost your core from the tower energy, he yelled. But you need to hold still for a moment. She struggled to her feet, dodging another strike. Do it now, she said. Rian connected the cable to the open port on her armor. Sparks flew, and energy surged through her body. The armor glowed brighter than before. The symbols across her chest lit up with a golden hue. She raised her arm again, her blade shining with intense light. For both our worlds, she said firmly, then she moved. Faster than before, the ground cracked under her feet. She leaped onto the creature's arm and sliced through it in one clean motion. The beast screamed, swinging wildly, but she kept climbing higher, cutting as she went. Finally, she reached its head and drove her blade deep into the core. The creature froze, glowing from within, and then collapsed with a loud crash. The remaining parasites shrieked and began to retreat toward the horizon. The sky slowly cleared as the light of dawn spread across the battlefield. Rian ran to Talia. She was kneeling beside the fallen creature, breathing heavily. The armor was damaged again, smoking from the battle. He helped her stand. You did it, he said softly. You saved us. Talia looked around. The colony was in ruins, but the people were alive. They came out of hiding, staring at her with awe and gratitude. For the first time, she saw no fear in their eyes, only respect. She turned to Rian. No, human. We did it together. You showed me what trust means. Rian smiled faintly. Guess humans are useful after all. She tilted her head, almost teasing. More than you think. They stood together as the sun rose over the broken land. Smoke rose from the destroyed machines, but the sky was peaceful again. In that light, Talia's armor looked almost human, carrying both her world and his. For the first time since the crash, she felt hope. She had found something stronger than fear or duty, a connection that bridged to distant races. And deep inside, Rian knew that this was not the end of their story. It was only the beginning of something far greater. The first light of dawn spread over the colony. Smoke still rose from the ruins, and the smell of burned metal filled the air. Yet beneath the destruction, there was silence. The kind of silence that comes after survival. Rian walked through the broken streets, his clothes covered in dust and oil. His hands trembled slightly from exhaustion, but his heart felt calm. Everywhere he looked, people were alive. They were helping each other, pulling debris away, carrying the wounded to safety. Children clung to their parents. The colony had suffered, but it had not fallen. Talia stood at the center of the main square. Her armor was damaged with cracks running across the plates. Energy flickered weakly along her suit. She looked up at the sky where the last pieces of the destroyed parasite ship drifted like burning stars. The battle was over. When Rian reached her, she turned to face him. Her visor opened, revealing her face. She looked tired, her silver blue eyes dim. But there was a calm expression on her face. "You made it," he said softly. "So did you," she replied. Her voice was gentle, but carried a quiet strength. Rian looked around at the people watching from a distance. Many of them were still unsure how to react to her presence. Some whispered to each other, others simply stared. No one dared approach, yet there was no hate in their eyes. Only curiosity and gratitude. "You saved them," Rian said. "You saved all of us." Talia shook her head slowly. "No, human. We saved each other. Without you, my armor would have failed long before the battle ended." He smiled faintly. "I only did what I could." She looked at him for a long moment, as if trying to understand something deeper about him. Then she turned her gaze to the horizon. "My people will come soon. I sent a distress signal after the fight. A rescue ship is already on its way. They will take me home." Rian felt a small ache in his chest. "So you are leaving?" "Yes," she said quietly. "But I will not forget this world, or the humans who fought beside me." They walked together through the ruined colony. The ground was covered with fragments of both alien and parasite technology. Talia bent down to examine one of the broken parasite pieces. It shimmered with faint light before turning to dust. "They will not stop," she said. "These creatures will come again in other forms on other worlds. My people have fought them for generations. But this time, something is different." "What do you mean?" Rian asked. She looked at him. "Humans fought without fear. Even with limited weapons, you did not run. You faced something far beyond your understanding, and still you stood your ground. That is rare in the galaxy. It changes things." Rian rubbed the back of his neck. "Maybe we just did not have a choice." "There is always a choice," she said softly. "And you chose to fight for others, even for me, an alien you did not know. That is why I trust your kind now." They reached the edge of the colony, where her damaged ship still lay half buried in the sand. The once sharp wings were now bent and broken. The hull was scorched, but the signal beacon was blinking. The rescue ship would not take long to arrive. Rian helped her sit on a piece of wreckage. He opened a toolbox and began checking her armor again. She watched him with quiet amusement. "You never stop fixing things, do you?" she asked. "It is what I do best," he replied. "You still have some cracks in the lower armor plate. If you leave like this, it might fail in high pressure." She smiled softly. "Then fix it, human." Rian laughed under his breath and began his work. He tightened the edges carefully and used his small welding tool to seal the cracks. The armor responded faintly, humming like a heartbeat as he worked. He said, "You know, when I found you in that wreck, I thought you were just another soldier. I did not think we would end up fighting side by side." "Neither did I," she said. "When I saw you for the first time, I thought humans were weak." "I was wrong." Rian looked up. "Weak." She nodded. "Physically, maybe. But your strength is not in your body. It is in your will. You do not give up, even when everything around you falls apart." He smiled again, though there was sadness in it. "I guess that is what keeps us alive." After a moment of silence, Talia looked toward the sky. A faint blue light appeared in the clouds, growing brighter with each passing second. "They are here," she said. The rescue ship descended slowly, its surface gleaming like glass. It was large and silent, almost graceful. The people of the colony stepped back in awe, watching the massive ship hover above the ground. A ramp extended, and several figures in silver armor walked down. They moved with perfect coordination, their faces hidden behind reflective helmets. Talia stood up. Her armor adjusted slightly, as if it recognized the presence of her own kind. Rian stepped back, watching her. The alien soldiers approached and stopped a few meters away. One of them spoke in a deep voice, his words carrying through a translator. "Commander Talia, we received your signal. The enemy has been neutralized. You are to return with us immediately." Talia looked at them, then back at Rian. "This human saved my life," she said firmly. "He repaired my armor and helped me complete the mission. Without him, I would have fallen." The leading soldier glanced at Rian, studying him. "A human?" "Yes," she said. "He is one of the reasons I still stand here." Oh, there was silence. Then the soldier nodded. "Acknowledged. The coalition will be informed." Talia stepped closer to Rian. "This is goodbye for now," she said quietly. Rian hesitated. "You really have to go." "My duty is with my people. But I have learned much here. When I return home, I will tell them what I found, that humanity is not a weak race, but a strong one. One worth standing beside." He nodded slowly. "I do not know if anyone out there will believe you." She smiled faintly. "Then I will make them believe." The other soldiers began to move back toward the ship. Talia reached up and removed a small energy crystal from her armor. It glowed softly in her hand. She placed it in Rian's palm. "This is a memory shard," she said. "It will keep a record of everything we faced together. If you ever need help, activate it. My people will hear you." Rian looked at the crystal, then at her. "I will take care of it." She took a step back toward the ramp, then stopped and turned one last time. "Thank you, human. You showed me something my war never could, compassion," he smiled. "And you showed me something I never expected, hope from the stars." They looked at each other for a long moment before she turned and walked up the ramp. The rescue ship began to lift off. Wind swept across the ground, throwing dust into the air. Rian raised his hand to shield his eyes as the ship rose higher, its engines glowing like suns. Then, with a flash of light, it disappeared into the clouds. The silence that followed felt heavy yet peaceful. The war was over, and the sky was calm once again. Rian stood there for a long time, holding the crystal. It pulsed faintly, almost like it was alive. He placed it around his neck with a small chain he found in his pocket. It felt warm against his chest. Weeks passed. The colony slowly rebuilt. New walls were raised, new machines repaired, and hope returned to the people. They spoke often about the alien warrior who had fought for them, about the night when human and alien stood together. Rian continued working in his workshop, fixing tools, drones, and engines. Yet every time he looked at the stars, he remembered Talia. He wondered what worlds she was flying over now, what battles she might be facing. He hoped she was safe. One night, while adjusting a small hover engine, the crystal around his neck began to glow. It projected a faint holographic image, a figure standing in the light. It was Talia. Her voice came through, soft and steady. "Rian, if you can hear this, it means you are safe. I wanted to send a message before we went into deep space. My people accepted your work as proof of alliance. You may not know it yet, but you have changed how they see humanity. The galaxy is watching now. Do not stop building. Do not stop believing. One day, we will meet again." The image faded, leaving only the soft glow of the crystal. Rian sat there in silence, a small smile forming on his face. He looked at the sky again, and for the first time, it did not seem so far away. He whispered to himself, "I will keep building, Talia. And when you come back, I will have something even greater to show you." The stars above shimmered gently, as if answering him. The human mechanic, who once repaired a broken alien armor, had now built something stronger. A bridge between two worlds, and in that quiet night the universe felt a little closer and a little kinder.